Good morning, students. The last class we have completed human nutrition. Let's discuss one of the points related to human nutrition, that is dental caries. Dental means of teeth. Caries means infections, bruises, or say crack type thing, whatever it may be. Dental infection. This is also known as tooth decay. Tooth decay, gradual destruction of the teeth. It is the gradual softening of enamel and dentin. What is dental carie or tooth decay? Gradual softening of enamel and dentin. Enamel and dentin. Bacteria that act on sugars produce acids. These bacterial produced acids can soften or can demineralize the enamel. When large number of bacterial cells or masses of bacterial cells join with food particles, they stick to the teeth and form dental plaque. When dental plaque is sticking to the teeth, saliva cannot reach there. If saliva can reach there, near to the joints between the teeth, even if the acids are released there to some extent, because of the action of saliva, the acids will get neutralized and demineralization process can be prevented. But as dental plaque is formed because of the masses of bacterial cells together with food particles, saliva cannot reach the bases of the teeth and it cannot prevent the action of the acids, so that the bacterial acids, they start demineralizing or softening the enamel. So, if we can brush the teeth regularly, that can remove the dental plaque regularly before the bacteria are going to produce the acids that can demineralize the enamel. If we don't do this process, if this gradual softening of enamel process is left untreated, first the bacterial acids demineralize or soften the enamel, then the bacteria can invade the pulp and inflammation and infection also can take place inside the roots of the teeth. So this is about dental caries. So bacteria, acids, they cause this gradual softening. A regular brushing can remove dental plaque and the dental caries can be prevented. If it is left untreated, what will it happen? It will cause the inflammation and infection of the teeth and gums. This is about dental caries. There are some in-text questions. What are the differences between autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition? In autotrophic nutrition, food is synthesized on their own by the autotrophs, wherein simpler molecules are taken and combined into complex form. In heterotrophic nutrition, food is not synthesized by the organisms wherein complex food is taken either directly or indirectly depending on autotrophs, then it is digested inside the heterotroph. Where do plants get each of the new raw materials required for photosynthesis? The required raw material for photosynthesis is CO2, water, what else? 6 CO2 plus 12 H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6 O2, right? And 6 O2 and 6 H2O. This is what happening in photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide is taken from atmosphere through stomata. Water is taken from soil through roots. What is the role of acid in our stomach? It was detailedly explained. Role of acid in our stomach. Softens the food. Harmful microorganisms are killed. Next, food will be acidified so that pepsin can act on proteins in their digestion. This is about role of acid in our stomach. What is the function of digestive enzymes? Digestive enzymes break down the complex molecules. Complex molecules are the major nutrients of the food into their simpler units. Carbohydrates are digested into starch-like complex. Carbohydrates are digested into glucose. Proteins are digested into amino acids. Lipids are digested into fatty acids and glycerol. Nucleic acids are digested into nucleotides. And all these things are achieved by what? Enzymes, digestive enzymes. Next, fifth question. How is the small intestine designed to absorb digested food? Small intestine is having finger-like projections called villi. So these villi, they provide large surface area for the absorption of final digested end products. They are richly supplied with blood capillaries. Small intestine is having finger-like projections, which are also known as villi, provide large surface area and villi are richly supplied with blood capillaries through which the final digested end products are absorbed into the blood. Right. Next, coming to respiration. Let us move to the next topic. Respiration. Respiration is the second life process. Even if nutrition is not taking place for a little longer period, we can survive. Whereas if respiration is not taking place, Even for a shorter while also, the living organisms cannot survive. So here, two activities are going to be explained. Activity 6.4. It explains in aerobic respiration, CO2 is released. In activity 6.5, it explains in anaerobic respiration, also CO2 is released. So the purpose here is, in explaining these two activities, is to explain that in respiration CO2 is released. So in activity 6.4, if you take, we need to take freshly prepared lime water, calcium hydroxide, in a test tube. So you have to take calcium hydroxide or lime water in a test tube. You need to blow the air using a syringe or pichikari into that lime water containing test tube, and you need to blow the air with your mouth using a straw into the lime water containing test tube. After some time, the lime water turns into milky white. This is because of the CO2. So in both the test tubes, the lime water turns into milky white. You record the time for the conversion of the lime water into milky white. In which tube the lime water turns into milky white faster? In the test tube into which you have blown the air using your mouth, in that test tube the lime water turns into milky white faster, because in your blown out air there is more CO2. From where the CO2 has come out in your blown out air? Because of aerobic respiration, CO2 is released, and that released CO2 is blown out through your mouth. So more the CO2, faster the conversion of lime water into milky white. In atmosphere, as we all know, there is very less amount of CO2, that is 0.03 to 0.04% of the entire gases. So because of the presence of lesser amount of CO2, when you blow the air using a syringe or pichikari into that lime water containing test tube, obviously what it will happen? The lime water turns into milky white little slowly. So lime water turns into milky white. So with atmospheric air, slow, with your blown out air, faster the conversion of lime water into milky white. So this entire activity is explaining you the aerobic respiration, because you are aerobic animal. What is aerobic respiration? The respiration that involves the utilization of oxygen is known as aerobic respiration. The respiration which does not utilize the oxygen is known as anaerobic respiration. Let us take some anaerobic respiration and the CO2 production. Again, here you are taking fruit juice. or sugar solution. Add some yeast to it. Yeast. You take this entire mixture into a test tube in which this one it is fitted with a cork. Fitted with a cork which is having one hole. Into this hole you put one just bent glass tube. The other end of this bent glass tube you put it in a beaker or the test tube that contains lime water. Here fruit juice plus yeast. Here lime water. So if you take this one, after some time this lime water is converted into milky white. So yeast, it is kept in fruit juice, is carrying out anaerobic respiration. Here also CO2 is produced. So in both aerobic and anaerobic respiration, which gas is produced in common? Carbon dioxide. Right. So different organisms, they obtain nutrition by different processes, and this food, it is going to be broken down. The glucose is going to be broken down completely into carbon dioxide and water using oxygen in some organisms, and in some other organisms the food is broken down without the utilization of oxygen. So the organisms that break down the glucose using the oxygen are known as aerobic organisms or aerobes. The organisms that break down the glucose without using oxygen are known as anaerobes or anaerobic organisms. Respiration is the breakdown of food, breakdown of glucose to release energy. Release energy. This is respiration. If oxygen is utilized, it is aerobic respiration. If oxygen is not utilized, it is called anaerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration. Whether it is aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration, glucose only is the substrate. Glucose is the common substrate for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Glucose is a 6-carbon molecule. 6-carbon molecule. In both aerobic and anaerobic respirations, the first phase is common. Right? What is that one? The first step, it is the breakdown of the 6-carbon glucose into 2 3-carbon molecules. So one glucose, which is 6-carbon molecule, is broken down into 2 pyruvates. Each pyruvate is 3-carbon molecule. So 2 into 3 is equal to 6 carbons. 1 into 6 is equal to 6 carbon. The first step of both aerobic and anaerobic respiration is common. That is, breakdown of a 6 carbon molecule into 2 3 carbon molecules. As glucose is broken down, this process is known as glycolysis. This entire process is known as glycolysis. As glucose is broken down, it is known as glycolysis. So glycolysis is common in both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Where does this process takes place? This process takes place in cytoplasm of the cells. This process takes place cytoplasm of the cells. The fate of pyruvate in anaerobes and aerobes is different. The pyruvate, it is converted. How many carbons are there in pyruvate? 3 carbons. It is converted into ethanol. This is 2 carbon molecule, and carbon dioxide. It is 1 carbon molecule. Pyruvate is converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide in the organisms, in the anaerobic organisms like yeast. So ethanol, we all know, it is called as alcohol generally in common terms. And this anaerobic respiration that results in the formation of ethanol and CO2 in yeast is known as alcoholic fermentation. So fermentation means anaerobic respiration. If alcohol is formed in anaerobic respiration, it is called alcoholic fermentation. So this alcoholic fermentation, it takes place in the absence of oxygen. Right? In the case of vertebrate muscle cells, during the sternus activity conditions, oxygen gets deprived, or the cells will lack the oxygen. During such oxygen deprived conditions, vertebrate muscle cells oxygen deprived or lacking conditions, the pyruvate is converted into lactic acid. Both of them are 3 carbon molecules only. Right? Here CO2 is not released, but in the absence of oxygen, the pyruvate is getting converted to lactic acid. So this is anaerobic respiration because it is not using oxygen. The production is what? Lactic acid. So anaerobic respiration, if the alcohol is produced, it is called alcoholic fermentation. If lactic acid is produced, it is called lactic acid fermentation. Right? So, and where does the energy is produced? In alcoholic fermentation and in lactic acid fermentation, there is a first step which is producing pyruvate. What it is called? Glycolysis. So whatever the amount of energy that is produced in glycolysis, that itself is the final energy in anaerobic respiration. Glycolysis produces very less amount of energy. So in anaerobic respiration, the amount of energy that is produced is very less, since glycolysis alone, or the first step of the respiration alone, is contributing the production of energy, whereas the second step is not. I said that glycolysis, or the first step, that is breakdown of glucose into 2-pyruvate, is common for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Does it give any sense? Yes. As it is common in both anaerobic and aerobic respiration, and as we all know that anaerobic respiration does not use oxygen, the first step of both aerobic and anaerobic respiration is not using oxygen. So glycolysis, it does not use oxygen. The first step of both aerobic and anaerobic respiration, that is glycolysis, it does not use any oxygen. So we have discussed about both types of anaerobic respirations. Coming to aerobic respiration. The second step of aerobic respiration, that is the breakdown of 1 pyruvate molecules into 3 carbon dioxide molecules with the concomitant or subsequent release of large amount of energy inside the mitochondria, is known as aerobic respiration. So the second step of aerobic respiration takes place in mitochondria. Second step of aerobic respiration. That is, pyruvate is broken down into 3 carbon dioxide molecules. The release of energy and water is taking place in mitochondria. So in second step of aerobic respiration, what is the other product? Water is produced. In any of the anaerobic respirations, this water is produced? No. In anaerobic respiration, no water is produced, whereas in aerobic respiration, water is produced. And large amount of energy is produced. This process is taking place in the presence of air or oxygen. So it is called aerobic respiration. The release of energy in this aerobic respiration is very large or larger than anaerobic respiration. In the case of anaerobic respiration that is occurring in vertebrate muscle cells during the oxygen deprived conditions is resulting in the production of lactic acid. That lactic acid, if it is accumulated in our muscle cells, it will cause cramps. We all will experience these cramps during the strenuous activities like continuous swimming, etc. So in a small pictorial form, aerobic and anaerobic respirations are given. So, first step is common. Glucose is broken down to form pyruvate. 2 pyruvate, 1 glucose to form 2 pyruvate, and it is occurring in cytoplasm. This pyruvate has got different fates: absence of oxygen, O2 in yeast, ethanol plus CO2, and energy. In our muscle cells, lactic acid plus energy. In mitochondria, so here also O2 absence. In mitochondria, O2 present. So 3 CO2 plus water plus energy. This is what that is produced in aerobic respiration. The energy that is released in cellular respiration, it is immediately used to synthesize ATP, because energy cannot be stored but ATP can be stored. The ATP stores the energy in its chemical bonds. ATP is broken down, giving rise a fixed amount of energy whenever endothermic reactions require energy in the cell.